just have to think 14 moves ahead, that's all.
So if you're thinking about getting the Honor Magic V5, or if you already have one and you're looking for the first things to do, well,
I got you, homie.
in this video, I'm going to share with you 17 tips and tricks and hidden features. Think of this as a customization guide that's designed to teach you how to unlock the phone's best features, and maybe more importantly, how to tailor the Honor Magic V5 specifically to you. And if you follow along by the end of this video, you'll be set up almost perfectly because you'll know how to customize like a pro, or should I say, like a magician. So in the past, I have called the Honor Magic V phones the perfect folding phone, but, and there's always a but because there's always something, and it wasn't the crease on the previous phone. It was in fact the software that needed some improvements, especially when it came to customization. And I'm really happy to tell you guys that Honor has surprised me with the amount of improvements that they've made since just last year. Okay, so this is how your phone will look more or less on day one when you set it up for the first time, unless you copy everything over from your previous device. I don't recommend you do that with this phone because this isn't like a regular phone. And also when you copy things straight over, it kind of makes the phone feel old straight away, even though you just got it. Okay, so the very first thing you should do for security reasons and also for the purposes of following along with this video is this. Go to your Google Play Store. Go to your icon in the top right corner, and here go to Manage Apps. So the first time you open the Google Play Store, you will see all of the available updates, and some of them will be very important when it comes to features on the phone, particularly the AI features. The first time I set this phone up, there were more than 20. So just make sure you do these, they're very important. Now let's move on to the official Tip 1. So customization is typically the best way to make the phone feel more like your own. And here's the first customization tweak that I make pretty much to every single Android phone. I get loads of questions about this, so I'm just going to show you straight off the bat in this video. So what I'm going to do is delete the clock that's here by default. There are other clock options for this space which are already on the phone, but this is what I like to do. Go to the Google Play Store. This is essentially the place where you're going to download all of your apps from. If you are coming over from Apple, just keep in mind, this is your replacement for the App Store. And this is the app that I download first. It's called the Google Clock. And this is exactly how it looks, and make sure it's the one from Google LLC. Now that that's installed, we can add the Google Clock widget to the top of this screen. And we do this by pinching the home screen, going to Cards in the bottom left corner. All of these at the top are official Honor Magic cards, but if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see classic widgets. And this timepiece right here is the one of choice for me personally. And I like the scallop one here. This can be resized if there is space. All you do is hold your finger down on it and then the lines pop up and you can drag it outwards. And you can actually change the color of this clock, and I will show you how to do that a little later on in the video. Okay, number 2. The second thing that most people will want to do with this phone is customize the wallpaper, and there are some really great options, and there are kind of 2 approaches to this. Let me show you the first one, and this is for anyone who wants to put in as little effort as possible. If you pinch the home screen at the bottom of the screen here, you will see wallpaper and style. Now see this little section here, this yellow right now. If you tap this, this is the themes for the phone, and there's some really cool ones that have been made specifically for this device, but you will have to pay some money for some of the more premium ones. But if you go to My Themes, you'll see the ones that are already installed on the device. So the default one is Rebirth. If you go across, you've got Crown, and they say Dynamic underneath because once you install these, they actually animate when you open and close the device. There's the Earth one, and there's the Seek Light Dynamic. And I'm just going to set up the Earth one so you can see how this works. So with this one, you've got a nice always on display that kind of copies the wallpaper. When you open the device, you get this nice animation from blue to orange. If you want to explore some of the other theme options, if you tap on themes again and go to recommended, you can see all of the ones that are available, and it even shows you how they will look. And if you scroll all the way to the end, you can go to more themes, and there's so many to choose from here. But again, do keep in mind, some of these will cost you some money. Okay, number 3, this is for anyone who wants to use a photo or a downloaded wallpaper as your own wallpaper and not use one of the standard stock ones or even pay for one. And I definitely fall into that category of people that would do this. Let me know if you do too. Anyway, here's how you use a photo or an image from your gallery as a wallpaper. Okay, so let's say I want to use this Wolverine image as my wallpaper for this phone. All I need to do is hit the 3 dots in the bottom right corner and go to Set As, and then choose wallpaper. And right here, I can choose whether I want this wallpaper to be applied to the lock screen, the home screen, or both. For now, I'm going to go both, allow that. And now we can tap on this screen and position that image so that it works well with the lock screen. Hit back, we can do the same. For the home screen, we can move it around if we want. And this is something that I recommend you do if you are going to use a complicated wallpaper. You can add a blur effect. So if you slide this, you will see how much it blurs the background. I think it doesn't need a lot. You just need to soften the edges just a bit so it doesn't distract you from the apps on the screen. Once you're happy with that, you can hit back and save. So this is how my home screen now looks, and this is how the lock screen looks. So the problem we have right now is when we open the phone, that image that is a small square has been expanded outwards and it's lost resolution. So when I close this now and you see this wallpaper, this is much blurrier than it needs to be. And there are a couple of things that we can do here to really improve the wallpaper for the larger interior display. And I'm going to show you how we can do that. And I just want to say right now, the way this phone is set up is the default way. I do not recommend you just have this entire mess like this. It's actually breaking my heart to see it like this, because it was so nice before I reset it. Anyway, let me show you how to improve the images that you have for the larger inner display. So if you go to your photo gallery, go to the image that you want to improve, hit the AI edit at the bottom. The first thing I recommend you do is to use this feature right here, the AI out painting. The inner display on the Magic V5 is almost 1:1. It's just a little bit over, but if you go 1:1 here, we set the canvas size to that. That's going to be much closer to this size display. And if we start the out painting, what this does is it uses AI to make this image larger to fit the display properly and without stretching the image. There we go. That looks fantastic. Hit the little tick there. And the next thing that you can do to improve this even more is go to AI upscale. So if you do have a lower res photo or an image that you're using, this will do its best to add in more detail and sharpness to that image. There we go. It looks better than ever. And now if we go to save, we can save this as a copy, not as an original. Here's our AI upscaled and expanded image. We can now go to the three dots in the bottom right corner, set as, go to wallpaper, and it is this little colorful one here. I'm going to set it to home screen. And at the top, you'll see I've got the interior display selected. So now we've got this image here. It perfectly fits that big screen. If I want to, I can add the little blur effect again, like so. Hit the little back arrow, and this is how the lock screen will look with the clock. This is how my home screen now looks. I'm happy with that. I'm going to hit done. So there we go. That's how we get a really nice quality wallpaper, even from a lower res image for the inner display and also the outer display and the unlocked home screen. Okay, before we get on to cleaning up all of these home screens, here's the next thing that you might want to do, and it is customizing the lock screen. So to do that, if you pinch the home screen, go to wallpaper and style, swipe across, and this is where you have your lock screen options. So what you can do here is tap the clock at the top, change the font to whatever you want, whatever works well with your wallpaper. You can change the color of the clock so it contrasts nicely with the wallpaper. Once you're happy with that, you can also customize the shortcuts to whatever you want. For some reason, the wallet isn't available here, which is really frustrating for me because that's one of the places where I like to have the wallet. Honor, if you're watching this, yeah, add that option. But anyway, this is where this gets really interesting. See the little icon down here, lock screen style. I'm going to tap that. And here we have some really interesting options where we can make use of the images that we have on our phone to create something more advanced than just a regular photo. So these ones at the top are brilliant. They're called the Magic Lock Screens. You do have some official presets at the bottom, and you can go to more and explore things, but I'm just going to show you this with the composite effect here, top left corner. Right now we've got this lady with the blue sky and some trees behind her. I'm going to change this image to Wolverine, and the Wolverine that I just upscaled. There we go. He's all cut out. Now if I go to change image again, I can add an overlay image for the bottom half of the screen. So I'm going to go to this, I'm going to choose this X-Men image down here where it's got Rogue at the bottom. And we can move the character around on here to show more of that overlay if we want. And that looks pretty good. And what you could do with this is have a picture of a person and maybe a holiday destination as the overlay. And then there is one more step to this. If you hit decoration down here, you can scroll down and change the color of the background to whatever works for you. And now you might already think that this is really cool, but actually it gets even better. See where it says overlay at the top? If you tap that, you can actually move this line right here and add even more of that overlay to the image. Obviously, you got to play around with this to get it right, but yeah, this could look really cool if you choose the right two photos or downloaded images. Now, before you move away from this, what you need to have a look at is the exterior display, because this has to work properly as well. So just position your images here the same way you would with the inner display, just so it works properly. And you'll notice if you do it right, it will actually overlap the clock behind. And just so you know, when you toggle between the overlay and the portrait, that's how you activate the controls for each one. So now that's how the interior lock screen looks. That's how the exterior lock screen looks. Here's something else that you might want to customize on day one. Go to your settings. On the left side, you want to go to home screen and style. And on the right side here, you will see always on display. If you tap on this, by default, it will just copy over the lock screens that you set up. But if you want to change it to something else, you can do that. So you can set it to partial screen and choose one of the images down here. These animate really nicely, and there are a lot to choose from. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom of this page, you'll see the more section. Tap on this, it will take you to the store where you can actually buy even more always on displays, including these really cool anime style ones. I'm sure you'll find something that you like here. They do cost around 50p, and some of them a little bit more, like these ones here, $2.99. And just to give you a demo of how these look, I'm just going to activate this one right here. Maybe that style, show the date, show the notifications and battery, and apply. And there we go, we've got a nice always on display with most of the screen black, so it's not using that much power. Okay, so I can't take this mess anymore. There's no way I'm gonna be able to find anything quickly the way this phone is set up right now. So we're gonna work on improving that. The first thing that I recommend you do is this: pinch the home screen, go to settings, where it says layout, change this to 5x6 and apply. Now this adds more rows and columns to the page, which does mean less swiping around to find the things that are important to you. And also it means you can have an extra app docked at the bottom. So for me, because I use WhatsApp all the time, that lives down here. Now, I know there'll be some of you right now who say, well, if you've just added more rows and more columns, now the apps are going to be smaller, they're going to be harder to hit. Well, there's a very easy way to solve that problem. If you pinch the home screen and you go to wallpaper and style, and you go to icon style right here, you can change the size of the app icons to as large as possible. And before we move on to the next one, there is another little customization tweak, which I really like, and I think some of you guys will too. See how the app icons appear like this? This is kind of the standard shape. There are some pre-installed dynamic icons available, like the crown ones right here. The only problem with these is they only apply to the Honor system apps and not to third-party apps. So I tend to leave this on the Seek Light style. But if you scroll across even more and go to more, you can download free icon packs and paid icon packs if you want to. I'm going to stick with the Seek Light. And this is why I like these ones so much. You can actually round the corners all the way into a circle if you want. So if you're coming from a phone where your apps were circles, you can have them as circles, or you can have them as squircles like this. So I've got mine set just one from the right. Now, I'm kind of an Android veteran now, so I recognize what all of the apps are without having to read the names underneath them. So to clean up my home screens, I tend to switch off the app names. If you're still new to Android and you're not familiar with the app icons, then maybe you should leave that on. But if you want to clean the screen, switch it off. Okay, so what you're seeing here is all of the apps that are on the phone, including the ones that I've downloaded myself, combined with the stock apps. Some of these stock apps that you see will just be annoying to you. And there is actually a really good way to get rid of all of that mess, which I am going to show you guys if you stick around. I do wish more phones had this feature. But anyway, I'm going to do a little magic trick now because this mess is just getting on my nerves. Okay, that's much better. I've spent a little bit of time cleaning up the apps for the home screens, but it's not quite complete yet because there's a few little cherries on this cake that we need to place. So one of the cool things about Magic OS is this little feature, which I haven't seen on many other devices at all. So just to demo this, I'm going to use the voice recorder app, which you can find in the app drawer, and it looks like this. I'm going to drag this onto my home screen right about here. Now, if you hold your finger down on this app, you can actually see the shortcuts for the app, and you can expand them out this way, but you can also expand them upwards like this. So I'm going to leave this one right here. And I have chosen this app for a very, very specific reason, which I'm going to show you guys a little later on in the video. And just to show you this again with another app, I've got Deezer right here. I'm going to hold my finger down on this. And there are shortcuts right here. Once the lines pop up next to the app, I can drag it outwards. And now it takes up 3 spaces, but now there are actually 4 different actions from this one app position. Okay, tip number 9. This is quite similar to the last one, but it's actually quite a bit different. So you already know how to add widgets. You simply pinch the screen, go to cards, swipe all the way to the bottom, and then you'll see classic widgets. These are the Android options. Something that Google have done recently that I really like is this. So I'm just going to choose the Gemini widget right here, and you can see the size of this one is 2 by 2. So I'm just going to add that to the home screen. But what I'm now going to do is hold my finger down on this, make it more narrow, bring it across and down here and expand the length of this widget. And now I've actually got 5 different actions that I can make from the Gemini widget. So with this set up like this, now we can access Gemini, open it, we can access the microphone and ask it a question, we can access the camera and give it access to the camera to see what we're looking at. You can also upload an image or a file to it and then ask it to summarize or explain what the image is. And then you've got the live conversation mode right here, all launchable with just a single touch. However, the color of it is not that nice right now, and I am going to show you how to change that in a minute. Something else that I'm going to do now that I've got more space is make that clock bigger. Oh, and a little side note, if you do want to have these 5 apps like this, you do have to do it whilst the phone is closed. For some reason, it doesn't work when the phone is open. I found that out the hard way. All right, tip number 10, this expands on this customization, but now instead of vertically, horizontally. So I'm going to swipe across here to this page where I have my social media, my streaming services, and my games. Now, there are various customization options that you can do with folders. For example, let's take this social media one. If you hold your finger down on it, you'll see the line, so we can drag it around. But if you just tap enlarge, you can have a larger folder. These icons are launchable from within that folder without having to open it first. Here's the other option. So for the streaming apps, if I hold my finger down on it, the lines pop up, I can drag these out sideways. So now we've got launchable, smaller icons for the streaming services, and I can do the same here with the games. And if there are loads of apps in a particular folder, you can actually change the width of them so you have even more rows like this. Okay, this one is kind of a hidden feature. On some phones, you can hold your finger down on the Google search bar and customize it. On this phone, you can't do it here, but there is a way. Here's how you can customize the Google search bar. So if you swipe up from the bottom, find the Google app that looks like this. In the top right corner, you'll see your icon. If you tap on that and go to settings and then scroll all the way down to where you see customize search widget. Now you've just unlocked the ultimate customization tools for the classic Google search bar. Most people don't know they can do this. So I personally like the dark mode, but usually, depending on the background I'm using, I will dial in my own hue. And for this background, we're going to go purple, like a darkish blue purple. You can change the saturation of that color and even the transparency. So I think about there looks good. Once you've dialed in the perfect color for your wallpaper, there is another step to this. So if you scroll down on this page, you will see the shortcuts. Right now, no shortcuts are selected. So if we tap here, we can choose any one of these and we can actually add a few. I think the most useful, in my opinion, is going to be the AI mode and maybe the song catcher. So if there's a song playing, you can just tap that and it will tell you what song it is straight away. But there are some other useful things like the translate camera as well. So pick and choose the ones that would be most useful for yourself. And there we go, we've got a customized Google search bar. Now remember how I said I was going to show you how to change the color of the clock? Well, on this phone, you can't actually change the color palette on its own. But what you can do is this, go into your settings. On the left side, we're going to go to display and brightness. And here we're going to switch this to dark mode. Now you'll see straight away, it's changed the color of the clock and also the Google widgets that I've set up here. This is Gemini, this is the recorder, and this is the Google Calendar. And that is the Google clock. And there are a lot of upsides to switching on dark mode because the screen is using less power. It's not actually powering any of the black areas of the screen. This means your battery will last a little bit longer. If you're not the biggest fan of this, you can set it to auto switch. So that way it kicks in at sunset and then it will switch back to light mode at sunrise. It's entirely up to you. I do like dark mode personally. Okay, so my phone's almost back to how it was before I reset it to make this video. So I'm quite happy about that. There is one thing that I wish I could add to this home screen, and that is a do not disturb button. And that brings me very nicely on to the next tip. So if you swipe down from the top right corner, you get your control center, sometimes known as the quick settings or control panel. A little bit of customization that I recommend you do on day one that will save you time later in the future is to customize this. And you can do that by hitting the pen at the top here and then hit edit shortcut switch. Then at the bottom, you see all of the available options here. So there's some really cool ones. If there's anything you see in this list that you want to add, you can just hold your finger down and drag it up. But what I'm going to do is make sure do not disturb is right near the top. Also, the Google Wallet needs to be near the front for me. And quick share is something that I use a lot as well. So that's going to be near the top. You should set this up so that your most important stuff is right there on the top row. And the cool thing about this is it does use AI suggestions. So it will learn which quick settings you use the most, and those will actually appear in the AI suggested section. So that's pretty cool, but I do recommend you set this up manually anyway. And do keep in mind the first time you swipe down, only the first 8 will show straight away. You can access the rest of them by hitting this little arrow here. Now, do not disturb has become something that I use way more than I used to, and this is for one specific reason. I think some of you guys probably don't use it that much because you're worried that you're going to miss an important phone call. Well, here's a little step that you can take to make do not disturb a little bit more useful to you. If you swipe down, go to do not disturb and hold your finger down on this. This will take you into the do not disturb settings. On this page, you can go to the call section here and actually allow your favorite contacts from your phone book to bypass the do not disturb. So typically this should be the most important people to you, your friends, your family, and any emergency contacts. So with this on, you're not going to get any spam calls or annoying phone calls from people you don't want to speak to. The other thing you can do here is enable the repeated calls. So if someone is blowing your phone up, maybe it is for a good reason. If they do that, then they could bypass the do not disturb. Also, you've got the messages here, and you can allow your favorite contacts to message you whilst do not disturb is on. And by setting this up, trust me, this is going to allow you to stay a bit more focused when you're trying to get things done without having to worry that you're going to miss an important phone call if there's some kind of emergency or something. Okay, here's a quick customization tip for the displays on this phone. If you go into your settings, scroll down to display and brightness, scroll down again, and you will see the color mode and temperature. By default, when you set this phone up for the first time, it will be set to vivid. Now, vivid looks good to other people, but it's not very accurate to the content that you're consuming on your phone. The much more accurate color scheme here is normal. This will use the sRGB and DCI P3 color space according to the type of content that you're viewing. And trust me, these are far more accurate than the vivid mode. Now, if you have some trouble with certain colors and things like that, you can mess around with the color temperature. If you want things to be a bit warmer, a bit softer on the eye, you can set it to warm, you can set it to cool. I personally think if you want the most accurate colors, and that's what you care about, then you should just leave that on default and on normal. Okay, this next tip is one that I know a lot of iPhone users, if you just made the switch, would appreciate. And also, if you like a clean home screen, you'll also appreciate this. So see this top right corner here? It looks kind of cluttered, doesn't it? That is how most Androids look. Loads of little icons, maybe somewhat unnecessarily showing all the time. Well, here's how you can clean this up. If you go into your settings, scroll down and go to the notifications and status bar, and then go to status bar here. And at the top, you will see this option. They call it the pure mode. If you switch this on, there we go. That cleans up a bunch of the icons up there. And to clean it up even more, you can put the battery percentage on the inside of the battery icon. Now we just have the 5G signal strength and the battery level. And there we go. Now it's nice and clean. All right, this next one is to do with audio. I'm going to be using these earbuds for this. These are my current favorites, the Technics AZ100s. So when you're wearing earbuds, if you go into your settings and scroll down to sound and vibration and scroll down again, you'll see this section right here, sound quality and effects. If you go into this and give it the permissions that it needs, by default, the earbuds will be set to Honor stereo audio, which is nice. It's pretty standard stuff, but you do have the option here for Honor spatial audio. So this is kind of their own version of Dolby Atmos or DTSX or spatial audio, whatever you want to call it. And this is a great little setting to use when you're watching movie content, but there is another approach to this. If you leave it on Honor stereo and then go to sound style at the bottom, there are actual presets for different types of content. So there's a specific movie ultra wide soundstage mode where you're not going to get as much vertical sound, but you'll get that kind of theater sound. And if you're really into your audio and you know what you're doing, you can go to customize, and there is in fact a 10-band EQ. And at the top, there's even presets for this EQ. But if you are going to do this, I'd recommend you create your own. And you do have a little bass booster here at the bottom as well. So if you do like really bassy music, you can dial that all the way up to the top. And this will affect any Bluetooth device that is connected. So this could even be a portable speaker. Anyway, that's a little bit of a hidden setting. Not many people know about it. And now you're not one of those people. Okay, number 17. This is really important. This is going to save you so much time in the future. Trust me. If you're a Google user or if you're just getting started with Android, what you'll probably find is you want to save your passwords to the Google Password Manager. That way, when you go to a desktop computer and you're using Google there, all your passwords are synced up and your pass keys. Well, this phone actually doesn't default to the Google Password Manager unless you do this. Jump into the settings, swipe all the way down until you see the Google settings right here. On this page right here, you will find your Google Password Manager. When you open this for the first time, you'll have the option to set it as your default, and I highly recommend that you do that, because once it's set up, whenever a password needs to be filled out, you can just use your biometrics to fill in that password automatically for you, and that's going to save you a ton of time. And I just want to take this opportunity right now to say thank you so much for staying this far into the video. You made it all the way to tip 17. You're well on your way to becoming an Honor Magic magician. And as a reward for staying this long, I do have some bonus tips for you guys. So remember earlier how I said this recorder app was an important one? Well, it is, and I'm about to show you why. So this, although it doesn't actually say it, it actually translates and transcribes whatever it is that it's recording. And the great thing about this is you have a text version of whatever the recording's about. For example, if it's a lesson, a lecture, a meeting, or whatever it is. And even if they're not speaking in your language, you will have this available to you. You can translate it straight away. It can recognize different speakers. And once you've captured that recording, you have a few options. So if you hit this down here, you can skip all of the pauses in between. You can increase the playback speed. If you view the text, you have this feature right here, the AI minutes, and this opens the door to a bunch of different options. So we can just set this to reporting meeting, and this will extract that text and lay it out in some nice, concise bullet points for us. And then once this is done, you can actually just copy this straight into the Notes app. And you can see right there, it's done a fantastic job with just a little recording like that. We've got a bunch of bullet points, and straight away we can hit this icon up here to import it directly into the Honor Notes app. And it also links it up to the recording. So you can see how this could be a fantastic study tool. Bonus tip number 2, here's a little customization tweak that will actually allow you to access this recording app very quickly in those moments where you need to capture that vital information. So if you go to your settings, scroll all the way down to accessibility features, shortcuts and gestures. Now Honor, if you're watching this, please allow a double push of the power button to launch the wallet. That would be really nice, because that's how the iPhone works. Anyone coming from the iPhone, they'd want that. And also that's how I like to access the wallet. It's not an option on this phone. The only options are here. I'm going to leave the double push as the camera right now, but I am going to change the double push of the volume down to the voice recorder. So now that this is set up, if I do need to record some audio, at any point I can just double tap down volume and start a recording just like that. And when you are recording, you will notice up here at the top, you have this little dynamic island type thing that can allow you to pause and stop the recording very quickly without having to open the app. I haven't really spoken much about the cameras on this phone just yet. I am thinking about doing a dedicated video for that, but I will give you a couple of pointers that will help you take better photos. So if you open up the camera app, jump into the settings, there are 2 things, actually 3 things that I recommend you change straight away. So first thing to do, change the video quality from 1080 30 to 4K 30. This phone has a ton of storage and it has fantastic cameras. You might as well film in 4K, even though the file sizes will be bigger. That's how you get the best quality. 4K 30 is better for cinematic content. 60 will be better for faster content like football matches or races where people are running or cars are racing or something. The next thing you should do is if you scroll down, you'll see these switches here. Two of these that you should switch on day one are the grid line and also the level. These tools will help you compose better photos and better understand how your phone is being held. And here's the final bonus tip. And again, this is a camera tip. This phone has an amazing primary camera. The sensor is huge, but it actually doesn't use all of its megapixels by default. It'll actually combine them into a smaller photo. If you do want to take the maximum resolution photo, here's how you can do that. Swipe all the way across the bottom to the more section right here, and here you will see the high res option. Now, if you want to have quicker access to this in the future, just hit the pen up here, grab the high res and drag it down onto the bar at the bottom. Now you have access to this high res camera mode right here without having to go to the more section. Okay, that's it for part one of this 3-part series. If you want to check out part 2, that's on screen right now. That's all about how to upgrade the usability, the day-to-day use of the Honor Magic V5. If you are getting this phone or you're thinking about getting this phone, trust me, you're going to want to see that one because that is where the fun begins. Appreciate you guys. See you in the next one. Don't be late.